I would buy these Epiphones instead of their Gibson counterparts, and some of them are even on sale right now. Hey, it's John from Play and Trade Guitars, and I'm going to tell you my absolute favorite Epiphones, which I think compete head-to-head with Gibson. And in certain categories, Epiphone delivers so much value that it's worth considering just buying the Epiphone outright. At the top, if you like new guitar reviews and informative buyer's guides like this one, hit subscribe and join this community of guitar players. You'd be glad you did. I'm also giving away an Epiphone Les Paul Custom. You can sign up with all the information down below. And lastly, if you're in the market for any of the gear that I'm talking about today, shop new gear using my link. Do yourself a favor, it's a win-win. You're gonna get fast free shipping and easy no interest payment plans. Trust me, it makes buying new gear way too easy. Let's dive in to the categories where I think Epiphone can smoke Gibson and save you some serious money. All right, how about Les Pauls? Yeah, there are Les Pauls that can compete with Gibson. First up, the Epiphone Adam Jones 1979 Les Paul Custom. Let me tell you something about this guitar. I played the $6,500 custom shop version that came out several years ago, and this is the closest thing I've found to it. Not only do you have an actual Gibson open book headstock with mother of pearl split diamond, mother of pearl block inlays on an ebony board, but you have, check out the pickups, already upgraded like Adam Jones. You have a Seymour Duncan distortion and bridge, and you've got a custom bucker in neck. It's got Norlin era 70s Les Paul custom stylings, and it has a hard shell case. It kicks the pants off of spending $6,500 on a custom shop guitar, which, sorry, you can't get anymore. You'd have to buy it on Reverb or something. Now, here's another one. The Gibson Greenie came out a couple of years ago, and it's a $3,000 guitar. What makes this guitar special is that it has the Peter Green out of phase sound, and this has Gibson USA pickups. The Peter Green pickups are gonna give you an out of phase tone, which is a really cool tone, but here's the way I look at it. Do you wanna spend $3,000 on a Gibson, which kind of does a one tone thing really well? Or do you wanna get the same tone with a guitar that costs half the price? Here's your answer. You got, again, the Gibson open book headstock, the Gibson USA Peter Green humbuckers, which just sound out of this world. And you get this flamed out looking top. It's got kind of a satin finish on it. A very cool guitar, $14.99, well worth the money. It sounds incredible. And by the way, you can watch demos on all these guitars. I'm Play and Trade Guitars. I've reviewed all of them. Hey, check this out. Here's the giveaway guitar. I'm giving this away first quarter 2026. Somebody's gonna win this guitar March 31st. Sign up down below. $12.99, one of my absolute favorites. Nothing looks better than the tuxedo effect of a Les Paul Custom. Here again, Gibson open book headstock, mother of pearl split diamond, mother of pearl blocks on an ebony board. And here you have the 490, 498 Gibson USA humbuckers, the same that they'd use in the Gibson Custom shop. This collaboration inspired by Gibson Custom is an absolute knockout. For good reason, the Inspired by Gibson Custom has been just delivering the greatest hits. These are best sellers as of late, and you have taken notice of the high quality and high affordability of these guitars. And here's the thing, if we're putting this head to head with Gibson, a 1959 reissue, you know, a lightly aged Murphy Lab, I mean, you're talking $7 grand plus, right? So here is a 1959, part of the reissue collection of the Inspired by Gibson Custom line. You got a long neck tenon in the construction, you got a Gibson open book headstock, you got Gibson custom buckers. This guitar right here has humbuckers that just alone are worth $500, and it comes with a hard shell case. Now this is at $12.99, which is already a great price, but watch this. Look at the sale price right here. If you like this Southern Fade, this is on sale for $10.99, save $200. And by the way, the difference in the 59, 57, and 60 in the reissue collection is the neck thickness. If you like a slimmer neck, go with the 60. If you like the kind of Goldilocks neck, go with the 59. If you like a thicker neck, go with the 57. By the way, the 57 has a gold top finish, which I adore. So that's how it breaks down in terms of the neck shape. But this sale right here, $10.99, done, awesome. All right, here's another Les Paul. It's a double cut Les Paul special. And this has two P90 pickups. You've got to have a guitar with P90s, and here's an excellent way to get a guitar with two P90s under $1,000. The comparable Gibson custom shop guitar would be like $4 grand. So this is super popular, $9.99 in TV yellow, fantastic guitar. By the way, I will have reviews on the new Gibson double cut Les Paul Jr. and Les Paul Special, which have just come out. That's making the competition a little tighter, so we'll see what Gibson has to do with those guitars and how they sound. Subscribe so you don't miss those reviews coming up. Now, talking P90s, here's another guitar that really impressed me. Under $1,000, the Joe Bonamassa 1955 Les Paul Standard. A Les Paul Standard with two P90s. Can't go wrong, it sounds fantastic. I would definitely recommend this guitar. All right, here's a category. This might be the biggest value add that Epiphone delivers on. This is the semi-hollow category. Let me show you the Gibson. It's $34.99. This is the all-gloss, made in America Gibson ES335. Incredible guitar. This is a bucket list dream guitar right here. 60s cherry. Vintage burst is beautiful. You can save $500 right now if you want this ocean blue finish, which is pretty cool. Kind of like a faded ocean blue, but a full gloss nitrocellulose finish made in America. All Gibson guitars are made in Nashville, Tennessee in the Gibson USA plant, and they're plecking the frets. They're giving you a lot of attention to detail in an all-American made Gibson. But at $34.99, an ES335 is out of reach for a lot of players. And you know what? You can get the semi-hollow tone for a lot less from Epiphone. Check these out as comparables. First of all, you have the luxurious 1959 ES355. 355 is like a dressed up 335. That originally referred to the price, $355 compared to $335. This is back in the late 50s. So things have changed a little bit. But here now in 2025, we can get the ES355 with open book Gibson headstock, mother of pearl, custom bucker pickups, incredible experience, hard shell case. Cherry red is really cool, but check this out, the classic white. How sharp is that at $12.99? I can't recommend this guitar enough. Now, people often ask me, which do I get, the ES335 or the ES355? It's really just a preference of the looks, right? They're very, very similar. But I think that if I had to choose one, I really do like the dressed down simplicity of the 62 ES335, but you cannot go wrong with either one of those guitars, I promise. This one will save you a little more money. It's only $11.49, and it's got these cool little mother of pearl block inlays. And you got the open book headstock, a little more understated than the 355, as you can see, but you also have the rosewood fretboard and you have custom bucker pickups. Huge value here. Epiphone knocks it out of the park when it comes to semi-hollow guitars. Here is a major savings. Don't miss this. This is the Shinichi Ubukata exclusive. It's an ES355, but you've got amazing features here. It's like everything in the kitchen sink. Trini Lopez diamond cuts. You got a Bigsby on here. You got the Veritone switch for an amazing combination of extra tones, like an extra palette of tones. And just a great guitar with, check these out, some of my favorite pickups. These are the Gibson USA 57 pickups in an Epiphone. Yes, you heard that right. The only real difference in this price range compared to the other ones I showed you is that this will not have the true Gibson open book headstock, but it's loaded with features. If you want like the Swiss Army knife of semi-hollows, this one will do everything, and it's currently $100 off at $10.99. If you missed out on the Epiphone Back to the Future guitar, which just went nuts, this would be the closest comparison, and it's only $10.99, and it has Gibson USA pickups. So in many ways, this is an even better value than the very popular sold out Back to the Future guitar. Love this one. Now, of course, the Flying V is an iconic guitar that was way ahead of its time in the 1950s. Gibson makes a 70s and an 80s Flying V. If you want a bit more hard-edged, aggressive tone, you can go with the 80s. But I particularly like the 70s and this antique natural. It's a mahogany body. It's at $24.99. But here's the question. How often are you going to play a Flying V on stage? If this is your thing and you want to spring for the Gibson, awesome. But I'll tell you what, the Flying V is overlooked. It actually sits on your leg much like a classical guitar while you're seated playing, and it's actually a very comfortable playing experience, and it's got this amazing airy resonance just from the lightweight design that's not like anything else. And I promise a Flying V is not going to be like anything else in your collection, and the cool factor is off the charts. So while this is at $24.99, I'm going to save you some money and tell you some Epiphones that I would buy instead, including one which is one of my favorites. So let's check this out. So here you have the Jimi Hendrix Love Drops. Now this is obviously decked out with the artwork and everything, and this is cool. It might be a little bit over the top for your taste. It might be a little bit too specific of a guitar, but I want to point this one out because it plays great and it's $11.99. It's currently on sale. That's some major savings. However, there's an even better one, which I'll get to. You have the Kirk Hammett 1979 Flying V. This is a great guitar with T-type humbucker, so it's got Gibson humbuckers, a hard shell case. But I'll tell you what, this one right here is where it's at. This is the Carina Flying V, 1958 Carina Flying V, and it's currently $300 off for a limited time, $999 for my favorite Epiphone Flying V. This one absolutely smokes the competition. And if you don't want to spend $2,500 on a Gibson Flying V because you're frankly not going to play it all that often, trust me, buy this because it sounds incredible. It has Gibson pickups and a hard shell case. Under $1,000 if you're going to buy one Flying V, this is the one that I personally would buy. Awesome guitar. All right, here's another category where Epiphone, I think, smokes Gibson. The only Firebird that Gibson is currently making is the Firebird Platypus. My issue with it, it sounds great. There's no issue when it comes to the sound. My only real nitpicky thing is that it's really not a Firebird in terms of construction. This has a set neck like other Gibson guitars, but a Firebird should have a neck-through body. It should be a laminate block that goes all the way through with mahogany wings glued on. Epiphone is the one that's making that. Gibson is currently not making that. First of all, in the Inspired by Gibson custom collection, this is like one of the most expensive Epiphones, but for good reason, because it's got everything that a Firebird should have, including the correct construction of the Firebird. It has a rosewood fretboard, mother of pearl trapezoid inlays. It's $16.99. It's a little bit more pricey for an Epiphone, but the Firebird 5 is going to give you the dual Firebird Gibson USA humbuckers. And you know, if you want it a little more stripped down and simplistic, this is a rock and roll machine right here, understated again in that cardinal red. That is so cool. One single Gibson USA Firebird pickup, dot inlays, mother of pearl on a rosewood fretboard, and that iconic Firebird reverse headstock with the banjo tuners and the works. $12.99. I think that smokes Gibson because it's more what you expect out of the proper construction of a Firebird. But I found these, and I was actually surprised they're still offering these. What they did with this series, kind of a little inside baseball here, they had the Inspired by Gibson line for these Firebirds, but they came out with Laurel fretboards, and they were a little bit more expensive in the Epiphone lineup. So the second generation of them, so to speak, has what I just showed you. It has the rosewood fretboards. But what's really interesting is you can still get the same guitar, absent the rosewood, with a Laurel fretboard. And Laurel does feel quite a bit like rosewood. I have no problem playing with a Laurel board, but look at the savings. I showed you the Firebird 5 at $16.99. This one's at $11.99 in this incredible frost blue finish. So I would jump on this if you can. If you don't care about the Laurel board, which feels frankly like rosewood anyways, save yourself a lot of money and go with this one. Still comes with everything else I told you about in the prior guitar there. And then look at this. If you like Inverness Green or Silver Mist or this Heather Poly, which is kind of a cool like purple pink kind of a thing, you can get the Firebird 1, and same thing, it's $8.99, under $1,000 with a Laurel board instead of rosewood, but huge savings and the same thing that you'd expect out of that Inspired by Gibson line, including the Gibson USA pickup. Great value there. And I'll tell you what, the Epiphone Firebird for $6.39, and actually if you put this in the cart, if you use my link or scan this QR code and put it in the cart, you get an extra $60 off. They're running a sale right now. This is also a bestseller, and it's a real winner. If you're one of those people that just wants to have an Epiphone Firebird, or I should say a Firebird in your collection, here's a really affordable way to do it. All right, those are categories. So what did I cover? I covered Flying V's, I covered Les Pauls, I covered semi-hollows, and I covered Firebirds. Now, since you stuck with me to the end, I'm gonna give you my absolute favorites. So let's break down the top 5 guitars where I think Epiphone smokes Gibson, and you should buy the Epiphone instead of the Gibson counterpart. Here's my top 5. Number 1, I think it goes to that Firebird 5, which comes from the prior iteration with the Laurel fretboard because of the savings. I mean, $11.99, but with the Gibson USA pickups, the hardshell case, the works, awesome guitar, huge savings compared to the Gibson equivalent, which actually doesn't exist. Here's one of my favorites. This one's super exciting. Instead of paying $2,500 for a mahogany Flying V, which is an awesome guitar, don't get me wrong, the Gibson sounds incredible. If you're a Flying V player, go with Gibson. But if you're somebody who wants to dabble in the world of Flying Vs, which are underrated and overlooked, here's a great way to do it. Currently on sale, save $300 and get the Carina, which is even cooler, 1958 Flying V, $9.99. All right, here we go. Number 3, the Gibson Custom 1960 Les Paul Special Double Cut, ultra playable. You got a slimmer 1960 style neck. You got a double cut for easy access all the way up the fretboard. You have a rosewood fretboard and Gibson USA P90s. You need a 2 P90 guitar in your collection. Here's an incredible way to do it under $1,000. This is such a winner of a guitar. The equivalent reissue would be like $4 grand from Gibson Custom. All right, in number two place here, the Gibson Custom 1962 ES335, $11.49. That's an unbeatable best-selling deal. Compare that to the ES335 from Gibson at $34.99, and you'll understand that this guitar delivers semi-hollow tone at an affordable price. Love this guitar. All right, I'll give you my number 1 pick, but before I do, I'll remind you a couple things. Hit subscribe, join this community. I have reviews, full reviews, including bench specs and teardowns and full performance demos, and as always, my honest, raw reaction to playing these guitars. I assign them a final score, and I give you my perspective as a professional player out in the world playing this gear. I'll give you my ultimate winner, and if you are in the market for any of these guitars, scan this QR code or shop using my link. You'll get fast free shipping, easy payment plans, and you help me make these videos. Thanks for your support. Here's my absolute top pick right now in today's market, where Epiphone goes head to head with Gibson and wins. And the winner is the 1959 Les Paul Standard in the Inspired by Gibson Custom Reissue Collection. Remember, you can get this as the 59 neck profile, the 60, or the 57. 57 is the thickest, 60 is the slimmest. They're all the same otherwise, except that 57 will give you a gold top. Now this guitar is just an absolute winner because it's packed full of value and proper construction techniques like a long neck tenon, custom bucker pickups, the same $500 set you'll find in a Gibson custom shop variant. And look, if you're gonna get a 1959 reissue from the custom shop, you're talking like $7,000 plus, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 for those guitars. Here at $1,299, it's an incredible value and an absolute winner. I can't recommend this guitar enough. Now I have one more to show you that is on sale, like I said earlier. The only difference here is that this has a Laurel board instead of rosewood. However, again, if you don't care about the Laurel board, you can get that same guitar, the 59 Les Paul Standard, but at $1099 and save $200. This is an exclusive inspired by Gibson custom 59 Les Paul Standard with a Laurel board and the works otherwise. So what do you think? Drop a comment and tell me if these Epiphones beat their Gibson counterparts. I told you my favorites, I told you the ones I'd buy now, and I'll remind you, if you're shopping for any gear, shop that gear using my link. It's a win-win. You help me make these videos and you get those no interest payment plans that makes buying this gear super easy. And hit subscribe so that I can see you on the next review from Plain Trade Guitars. It's John. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll see you on the next video. Keep playing and take care.